A McDonald's drive-thru receipt topping $50 is not a joke. It is the new reality for families who once counted on cheap meals. In just 2 years, prices at McDonald's jumped 40%, far beyond inflation, with a Big Mac up 21%. For millions, especially lower-income Americans, that is a broken promise. How did the world's most reliable fast food chain lose trust almost overnight? And what really pushed loyal customers over the edge? A McDonald's receipt showing $48 for a single family order doesn't just stop people in their tracks, it travels fast. In 2024, headlines and social feeds filled with images of drive-thru totals that once would have seemed impossible. The numbers don't lie. McDonald's menu prices in the United States climbed about 40% from 2019 to 2024. That's not just a few cents here and there. A Big Mac, the chain's most famous burger, went from $4.39 to $5.29 on average, a 21% jump. Regional reports captured combo meals for a family of 4 landing anywhere between $36 and $60, depending on location and extras. These are not isolated mistakes or airport outliers. News outlets confirm that for many families, a routine order now means spending double what they did just a few years ago. The old promise of a quick, affordable meal is gone from the checkout screen. Instead, each new sticker shock receipt becomes a symbol of how quickly the ground has shifted and how far McDonald's has moved from its roots as America's budget fallback. McDonald's built its empire by serving lower and middle income Americans, families who counted on a few dollars to cover a meal when budgets were tight. Data from Placer.ai shows the chain's core visitors still come from households earning under $60,000 a year with a heavy reliance on predictable, affordable calories. But these same groups have faced the sharpest squeeze as the cost of eating out keeps climbing. The Economic Research Service tracked food away from home inflation at 7.7% in 2022, 5.8% in 2023, and another 4.1% in 2024, well above the long-term average. For families already watching every grocery bill, those increases hit hard. In 2025, McDonald's itself acknowledged that traffic from households making less than $45,000 was dropping, even as overall sales saw brief rebounds. For many, the math stopped working. When a single meal can eat up a quarter of a week's food stamps or force trade-offs on other essentials, McDonald's loses its place as a budget fallback. The result? Fewer visits, skipped fries, and a growing sense that the chain no longer fits into the lives of the people who once depended on it most. By early 2024, the momentum that had carried McDonald's out of the pandemic began to slow. After months of steady growth, a different pattern started to surface. Regulars pulled back, and the reliable rhythm of drive-thru and counter orders began to falter. Families who once stopped in weekly started spacing out visits, skipping combo meals, or sharing fries to stretch their dollars. Placer.ai location data captured the shift as it unfolded. Traffic from core neighborhoods leveled off, then slipped. Company leadership took notice, with internal updates and earnings calls referencing a new challenge. Value-focused customers were no longer filling the stores the way they once did. Even as new menu items and digital deals rolled out, the fatigue was clear. The old playbook of coupons and limited time offers struggled to win back guests who now saw McDonald's as a splurge, not a staple. The post-pandemic boost had faded, replaced by a quiet resistance from those who once depended on the brand most. This was no longer just a story of sticker shock. It was the start of a measurable retreat as the foundation of McDonald's customer base began to erode. In early 2025, McDonald's reported its steepest drop in U.S. same-store sales in 5 years, a 3.6% decline that rippled through earnings calls and franchisee meetings alike. Store traffic told a similar story. By the third quarter 2025, visits were down 3.5% year over year, with same-store visits off by 4%. These are not just rounding errors or temporary blips. The chain's core customer base, lower and middle-income families, had already started pulling back, but now even occasional visitors were cutting back on extras or skipping stops altogether. Internal reports pointed to a clear culprit: sticker shock and shrinking budgets. Cost realities shaped McDonald's corporate response. The company pointed to a 40% jump in crew wages since 2019, along with an approximately 35% increase in food and packaging costs. Executives argued these were not isolated to their brand, but part of a broader surge in expenses across the fast food sector. CEO Chris Kempczynski publicly defended the price hikes, insisting that higher menu prices were the only way to keep stores running and workers paid. Franchisees echoed the message, often reluctantly, as they grappled with thinner margins and rising utility bills. Yet for the average customer, these explanations landed flat. The numbers on the receipt were all that mattered. The old logic, that McDonald's was the dependable, affordable fallback, was breaking down, and the data showed it in real time. Hash browns became the unlikely flashpoint. In 2024, posts showing a single McDonald's hash brown priced at $2.89 or even $3.09 went viral, sparking thousands of angry comments and side-by-side comparisons with receipts from just a few years earlier. Screenshots of app deals promising value drew mockery when breakfast combos still totaled more than a sit-down diner meal. For many, it was not just the number on the receipt, it was the feeling that every price jump was a quiet betrayal. Official government data put food inflation at just 2 to 3% by 2025, but consumer surveys told a different story. Most Americans believed their food costs were rising 2 to 3 times faster. McDonald's, as the country's most visible fast food brand, found itself at the center of this perception gap. People were not just reacting to higher prices, they felt as if the rules had changed without warning. The old trust that a $1 menu meant a $1 breakfast was gone. Each new viral post, each shared receipt became proof that the promise of everyday value had been broken. In the public mind, no amount of corporate explanation could erase the sting of paying $3 for a hash brown that once cost pocket change. The $5 meal deal, launched in June 2024, was McDonald's first major attempt to win back frustrated customers. For a few weeks, traffic jumped as much as 10% over 2022 levels, and the promotion was quickly extended. Analysts tracked a similar bump when the chain introduced the McValue menu and rolled out high-profile tie-ins like the Minecraft movie meal in 2025, helping lift global same-store sales by nearly 4%. In September, McDonald's cut prices on 8 popular combos, bringing some meals down to $5 to $8, a 15% discount compared to buying items separately. Franchisees received subsidies to make these price cuts possible, but many saw the moves as temporary relief rather than a return to everyday value. Yet even as these promotions brought short-term gains, deeper pressures continued to shape the fast food landscape. Quick service foot traffic across the U.S. fell about 1.6% in the first quarter of 2025. At the same time, chicken-focused brands grew their share of visits from 15% to more than 18% since 2019, while burger chains lost ground. A new factor also entered the mix: the rise of GLP-1 weight loss drugs, which analysts now link to a measurable drop in fast food demand as millions of Americans eat fewer calories away from home. Despite these headwinds, McDonald's posted a 5% rise in revenue and an 11% jump in net income in the second quarter of 2025. The numbers on Wall Street look strong, but the disconnect is clear. Customers see a company still making money while everyday visits become less affordable. The brand faces 2 paths: double down on real, lasting value to rebuild trust, or risk becoming just another occasional treat for those who can still justify the price. By 2024, McDonald's menu prices had jumped about 40% compared to 2019, outpacing general inflation and the company's own wage and ingredient cost increases. This price surge, confirmed by the Washington Post and McDonald's Corporation data, hit lower and middle-income Americans, the brand's core customers, the hardest. Same-store sales dropped 3.6% in early 2025, with foot traffic from households earning under $45,000 falling sharply, according to Placer.ai and AP News. McDonald's pointed to rising cost and launched $5 meal deals, but many diners saw these as temporary fixes, not a return to real value. New trends like a shift toward chicken chains and the rise of GLP-1 drugs make the full impact harder to measure. What is clear is that the last 2 years showed price is more than a number. It's a test of trust. Once lost, even a $5 meal cannot guarantee that loyalty will return.